welcome to BG24 Public Affairs. I'm Melissa Boucher.
And I'm Danielle Griffith.
Tonight we will be informed on fire prevention tips along with demonstrations from Bowling Green's Fire Department Lieutenant Mike Leesma.
And that's right, we also have a segment going on today on gardening tips from Mr. Dick Botsmore. So we'll have some tips and Heather Poloff will come back with that later.
And we will also be switching gears later on tonight to an interview at Bowling Green's very own Stemmel Market to learn more about Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday in general.
Now, before we get into all these interesting segments, what we're going to do is toss it over to newscaster and weathercaster Heather Poloff with the latest news and weather. Heather?
Thanks, Danielle. The City of Bowling Green will hold a public information meeting this Friday to discuss the details regarding the reconstruction of the intersection of Haskins and Poe Roads. The city is planning a $700,000 project that will make the intersection safer for both drivers and pedestrians. Construction plans include the addition of a left turn lane to Haskins Road, replacing traffic signals, installing new sidewalks, and resurfacing of the intersection. Haskins Road will be closed for about 30 days for construction beginning April 5th. City officials will provide complete details about the plan at the information meeting, which will be Friday morning at 11 a.m. in council chambers of the City Administration Services building on Church Street. And some U.S. colleges are paying students to put off college for a year after graduating from high school. According to the Associated Press, gap years are a popular practice of European universities, but becoming increasingly popular in the U.S. In 2009, Princeton University began offering financial aid for applicants who wish to take a year to intern, volunteer, or travel before attending college. Students in gap year programs can apply for financial aid that would cover housing, visa fees, and airfare in some cases. The University of North Carolina offers up to $7,500 to those students looking to experience life outside the classroom before committing to 4 more years of education. Supporters of the program believe it's a great stepping stone to college, and the program is open to all students who apply where the program is offered. And students in northern Michigan are getting ready to usher in the end of winter this week. Lake Superior State University students will hold a ceremony at noon on Thursday where they will set a snowman on fire. Students and maintenance employees are building the snowman out of recycled paper, wood, and wire. The snowman will measure between 10 and 12 feet tall. The 40-year tradition celebrates the beginning of spring, which is exactly 12:57 in the afternoon tomorrow. And speaking of spring, let's take a look at your Black Swamp weather forecast now. Today we experienced a typical spring day with spotty showers and highs reaching around 50 degrees. Those showers will move out of the area tonight and leave us with mostly cloudy skies with lows in the low 30s. For tomorrow, we'll see sunny skies with highs back up in the mid to upper 40s. Our first day of spring is shaping up to be a great one. And for tomorrow night, those clouds will move back into the area to keep lows in the upper 20s. Looking ahead to the weekend, we do see a chance for rain on Friday, and that chance decreases for Saturday and Sunday, with highs getting just a bit cooler each day, eventually back into the 30s for Sunday and Monday. And with the spring season less than 24 hours away, many of us are wondering what exactly to expect now that the winter season is ending according to the calendar. So far for March, we have been below average for those daily high temperatures. And for the beginning of March, our average high is statistically 40 degrees with the average low around 24. In the past few weeks, we've almost been lucky to climb out of the 30s for a daytime high. By the end of March, our average high temperature reaches 54 degrees with the average low at just 33 degrees. Considering our forecast for the rest of the week, we're not far from that average. And the month of April begins with an average of 54 degrees for highs and a low average at 34. Averages by the end of April are around 66 degrees for the high and 43 for the low. After this winter, I think that even 50 degrees will feel like summer, but by the end of April, we'll be almost halfway through spring, and all the nasty winter weather should be far behind us. With that in mind, let's look at an average precipitation for the beginning months of spring. For March, the average amount of precipitation is a little above 2.5 inches of water. That's not inches of snow, but actual water. Right now, we're about on target for March to be an average precipitation month, with only having had a little over an inch fall since the first of the month. April's total rainfall averages around 3 1/3 inches and is usually one of the wettest months of the year with April showers. Of course, it all depends on the temperature as to whether that water falls as rain or snow, but on average, April is the month in which temperatures are consistently above freezing during the day and at night, so the ground isn't frozen and that water should fall as rain. However, we can always have those spring snowstorms that bring cold air and snowfall. As for right now, in the next few days, we'll be above freezing and are right where we should be for this time of year. And when we come back from the break, Danielle Griffith sits down with a Bowling Green fireman to discuss fire prevention tips. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to BG24 Public Affairs. Joining with me this evening is Bowling Green's Lieutenant, Mr. Mike Leesman. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you very
So
much.
what we're here to talk about is fire prevention. So I just want to start off on average, what are the percentages here in Bowling Green for the average house fire?
Percentage-wise, we don't have a whole lot of house fires, hopefully, because of fire prevention is very good, but we only have actual fires reported about 63 out of our 3,100 calls a year.
That's good. And what would you say are some of the main causes of any house fire?
Some of the main causes are clutter. If people keep things too close to heating things, that's some of the main causes of fire. Being not careful around candles, leaving a room when when you're cooking, making sure that whenever you're cooking something that you keep an eye on that.
That's excellent tips. Now, around what time of year would you say do you see an increase in most house fires in the U.S.?
Most of the time it's in the winter time they really tend to pick up, and because that's when your heating system starts kicking in and they start using space heaters, they get too close to curtains or bedding or something like that. So kerosene heaters, wood stoves, all that kind of thing accumulates and makes it more hazardous that time of year.
Okay, now if a fire does occur in someone's home, what are some steps that you think that the individuals in the household should take?
Number one, anytime you hear a smoke alarm go off, you need to get out of the house. So hopefully everybody's got a working smoke alarm. And then once you hear that go off, you need to get out of the house. If there is smoke when you wake up, if you happen to be sleeping, you need to stay low under that smoke and then get outside as quickly as you can. Once you get outside, call 911 to get the fire department en route, and then make sure you have a safe meeting place, because once you get outside, you make sure that everybody's accounted for. When the fire department arrives, then you can know, tell us that everybody's gotten out or not, and if they haven't gotten out, we can go do life safety rescue right off the bat.
Okay, and now how many lives are lost in the average house fire?
In the average house fire, there's not a lot of lives lost, but over the years, a year statistically, there's about 2,400 lives lost every year in the United States on house fires, out of 360,000 fires.
Okie dokie. Now, I know that you guys have a fire prevention week as well as the month, which is in the month of October. It was started in 1922 based off of the Great Chicago Fire. Now, what are some things that you do outside of the month of October to make sure that residents of all the states are prepared for things inside of their home?
Well, we do all kinds of, anytime anybody wants us to come out and talk to them, we'll do that. We are at health and safety fairs. We're at we go to all the schools, either during Fire Prevention Week and other times of year. We go to the daycares, we go to the senior centers, any kind of, we do university here, we talk to fraternities and sororities if they ask us to come and do safety talks there. So we're involved with anything that people would request. We more likely are very happy to do.
Okay, now I do see that you did bring some things along. You have some fire extinguishers here.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be able to do a quick demonstration of when you would use this and how you would go about using it?
Okay, yeah, just real quickly, there's some different types of fire extinguishers. You can see the different types here. This is a dry chemical and this is a CO2. This particular extinguisher is only good, or is good for class A, B, C fires, which is most of your fires, and then this would only be good for B, C. So I'm not going to get into that real long, but you can see pictures on here on the different fires that they are good for. All right, this is good for
This would
wood.
particularly be inside your home or something.
Right, this would be good for paper, liquid fires, or electrical fires, where this would not be good for paper fires.
Okay.
So you have to get the right type of extinguisher. It should always have a seal on here, making sure that it's in good working order. That means this pin has not been pulled and nobody used it. There should be a gauge on here with the yellow arrow in the green. That means it's fully charged. And then it should be checked once a year. At home, I suggest that you check them at least once a month. Make sure that no spider webs have gotten up in this nozzle here and made a nest inside there. And then check them. The other thing we need to do is take it off the wall once a month and shake it. There's dry powder in here, so if you take it off the wall and shake it up a little bit,
It'll keep it fresh.
that keeps everything loose in there. That way, when you go to use it, it's ready to go. All right, and then it's called pass, pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep, and that's the easy way to remember how to do it. The directions are on here how to use it. The P is for pull the pin first. You break the seal, just twist this, and it'll break the seal off of there. Aim at the base of the fire, close to you. Squeeze the trigger all the way down, and then sweep back and forth until the fire goes out. Once it goes out, back away from the fire and make sure it does not reignite, either by calling the fire department or getting it outside, so if it does reignite, that it won't be in the house anymore.
Okay, well, thank you for this brief demonstration on using fire extinguishers, as well as we'll get back to this and make sure that we're educated on the zip strip. And we do want to thank Lieutenant Leesma for coming in and give us all those fire prevention tips. Now stay tuned after the break. We're going to have Heather pull up here with Bostroff Gardens to get your house ready for spring and give you some gardening tips. Stay tuned.
For Public Affairs, I'm here with Dick Bostorff from Bostorff Greenhouses. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Heather, for having me.
All right, and we're here talking about some tips and tricks for people beginning to think about planting their plants for spring this year. To start off, so we did have a really record-breaking winter this year. Does that pose any challenges for people planting?
Well, it's going to this year, Heather. The soil is very cold, and you, given your weather forecast, it's not going to get warm very quick,
Sure.
and therefore it's going to stay wet. And cold, wet soils and vegetable gardening don't get along very well.
Right.
So they're going to have to stay off the ground for a while, or it'll just be a mucky mess, and they won't do well.
Sure. And with that being said, how do people prepare to plant their plants, whether it was a harsh winter or a mild winter? How do they prepare?
Well, preparation is basically the same. It's a matter of waiting till when it's the proper time being when it's dry enough to get on.
Sure.
And be able to till the soil and do whatever you have to do to make the bed properly prepared to plant plants in. Mm-hmm. And as I say, that's going to be a little longer. You know, generally here we look at frost-free dates. Mother's Day is a good time to be thinking about planting things. It's a safer time, although the full moon this year is very late. And
Oh,
the full
really?
moon has obviously an effect on weather. And so we could be as late as the 20th of the month of May this year before it really starts to warm up very much.
Wow. And with that being said too, sometimes we get late frost or freezes after plants have been planted. Does that have a negative effect on the plants?
Well, it sure can. I mean, if you don't protect them, obviously, they're going to freeze, or you'll injure them to the point that they don't do well. They don't produce what they should produce. And one of the tips there is to cover them, if you can, with a bucket. Don't use clear plastic. Clear plastic radiates the heat out just as fast as it came in,
Oh, really?
and therefore clear plastic is not a good thing to use. But a bucket, something of cloth nature, there's a number of materials that you could use like this, but stay away from clear plastic.
Sure. How would you protect something that's too large for a bucket, like a tree?
Well, a tree's the same way. You're going to throw a blanket over it. You know, some of the flowering trees, or small shrubs and so forth. Large trees, forget it. There's no way of doing that.
Sure.
You know, we wish we could, because some of the big magnolia trees are beautiful and they could be injured.
Sure. We're all waiting for that warm weather to get here and to stay here. How late can we expect the weather to be warm enough so that we're out of the danger area of the frost and the freezes at night?
Well, again, if you go back and look at history, most people will look at the full moon, and full moon's about the 20th of May this year. So you would assume then it's going to be the right time. We generally use Mother's Day as a good time to start, and you want to plant things that are not so sensitive. Also, I mean, you can start with the cold crops, the lettuces and the cabbages and so forth, and they'll take lots and lots of cold, even frost won't hurt them.
Sure.
But if you put tomatoes and peppers and stuff out there, it's not so good.
Sure.
You know?
Okay, and you brought some plants here. Could you demonstrate, like, how deep should they go to be really protected?
Be glad to do that.
All right.
I brought 3 plants, and I just brought this one here. If you go to a nursery, if you're going to buy a nice sized plant to plant in your garden, get something that's in that around that 6-inch mark, and it will plant properly. It'll go into the right depth and be good. Also, if you go to the nursery and you find your tomato plants, and I'm using tomatoes because that's the #1 vegetable
Okay.
And you find them, they have flowers on them, just reach in and pinch the flowers off. Because if you don't, they're going to set a fruit or 2 fruit, and that's all you're going to get.
Oh.
It stunts the plant. Your plant doesn't have enough time to root out properly, and therefore it doesn't produce anything. The third plant I brought, and one of these will work for what we want to talk about, tall plants. This is a very tall plant. And people always want to buy tall plants because they think they're getting more. Shorter is better in this case. If you're going to have a planting of tall plants, and you're going to go to a container in your garden, you want to take this plant up here, take the leaves off very carefully, like this, and go down and dig down into the bottom and push that thing clear down to the bottom. You want to put it in as deep as you can get it in. Now, what happens is the roots will come out of the stem. There's all kinds of little rootlets can come out of this thing, and you'll end up with a much bigger plant and much more produce off of this. Okay? Now, if you're not, you're out in the garden, then the thing you want to do then is to simply take this thing and dig a trench, and that's what we're doing here, is digging a trench, and we're going to lay this tomato down in this trench, cover it over about 3 inches deep, and then we're going to take this thing, we're going to tip it up on the end like this. So this is a new plant, and that's what you want sticking up.
Oh,
Okay? Again, we're doing this so that the plant, big tall stems don't do anything for you. They fall over, they break, they sun scald when the sun comes out very hot, and that kills the tissue on the side. So if you want to be really good at any tall plant that you get, vegetable-wise, of course cabbage and that doesn't get very tall, but tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant and these kind of things all will do very well because they will root up the stem, and that gives you your best chance of being successful in the garden as far as planting these tall plants if that's what you want. And sometimes you have no choice. You go to the greenhouse and some of these varieties that's what they are. They're very tall varieties, and so if you want that, then that's what you do. If you have a choice though, pick up the little guy. He'll be much better for you. The root in the top's in balance. You have enough root there, and again, put it down the ground because it's going to root here too, and take the leaves off because they'll rot in the ground, and that's not a good thing to do either.
Sure.
So, and then just stick it down the ground, and you're off and going, and you're in.
All right, great advice. Also, is it safer for the plants if you start them out inside, if you are afraid of them getting too cold outside?
If you're going to start your own plants, or if you're going to buy some, watch the weather. Set them in the garage. It doesn't hurt anything. They come in a container. They've been grown in a container, so they're happy there.
Okay.
You can fertilize them. You can water them, whatever. And now's a good time. Matter of fact, if you're going to grow your own seedlings, now's the time. We are seeding our main crop for public consumption right now, tomatoes and peppers, eggplant, lettuce, all these things here. That's the activity that's going on now. So if you want to start your own, now's the time to do it. But be sure and put them in a real sunny location.
Sure.
Okay, and turn them once a week so they don't bend over and curve towards the light kind of thing, and they'll grow very straight. And don't fertilize them and water them. Just keep them moist.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And
You're welcome.
You're from Bosdorf
Greenhouse.
Thank you, Bosdorf Greenhouse and BG, and they're actually going on their 25th year here in Bowling Green. That's pretty impressive. And when we return from the break, we'll be discussing a particular Mardi Gras tradition with Danielle and Melissa. Stay tuned.
Contact BG24 News with email, Twitter, or Facebook.
Welcome back to BG24 Public Affairs. Now, as we know, the month of March is known for Mardi Gras. Now, Melissa did visit one of the local markets here in Bowling Green that was serving up poochkies on Fat Tuesday. Take a look.
It's Fat Tuesday, and in honor of this delicious holiday, I'm at Stemmer's Market right here in downtown Bowling Green. The spirit of Mardi Gras swept through Bowling Green as poochkies were made fresh all day Fat Tuesday. Crowds of customers circulated throughout the storefront from sunrise to sundown, where dozens of poochkies were sold fresh with a variety of fillings ranging from sweet apple cinnamon to rich prune. General Manager Matt Stemmel explained that making poochkies is nothing new for the Stemmel family. And while Fat Tuesday is a day of eating fatty foods like punchies before the start of Lent, the preparation for the indulgent day is truly a process at Stimmels. Regular customer Debbie Earthman explained that Stimmels was the only place to be on Fat Tuesday.
We are at Stimmels Market because they have the best punchkis in town and the greatest coffee. It's always hot and ready to go. And we're also meeting, we're a Nancy Allum Relay for Life team, and we are here to kind of have a meeting and do some planning for fundraising.
General Manager Matthew Stimmel explains that their dedication to using fresh ingredients is what truly sets Stimmel's punchkis apart from others. While these punchkis won't be made again until next year, their delicious taste should be more than enough to hold customers over until next March and keep them coming back each and every year.
No, they did look really, really good though.
It was. They were so delicious. Have you ever had one?
I did, but I don't quite like the filling.
Oh,
If
you
I
have
had
to try one next year.
Okay, I will.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. That's our show for tonight.
Now, next week, what we're going to do in honor of spring is we're going to have a fashion show brought to you by the Professionals for their annual fashion show.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good experience to show all the spring fashion.
Yeah.
Now, don't you guys forget about the BG24 news on Friday nights at 5:30. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Good night, everyone.